Apologies for absence.
Yes, Chair. Good evening, everyone. We have two apologies. Councillor James Meek has work commitments and Councillor Rees has commitments.
Thank you. Disclosure of interest. To deal with any disclosure by members of any disclosure of pecuniary interest and interest other than pecuniary interest as defined under the Town Council Code of Conduct and Localism Act 2011 in relation to matters on the agenda. I'm going to read this part. It's to note that the Town Clerk grants dispensation to all members who pay council tax take part in discussion and vote on item 11. This dispensation is granted in order for the Town Council to be porous and set its annual budget and preset requirements. This dispensation will last the duration of its current administration, i.e. until May 2027. I understand I have to get a proposer and a seconder and vote on this.
Motion to note, yeah.
So, proposer, seconder, Councillor Raven, and then all in favour.
That's fine, Chair. That's everyone.
Thank you. Number 3, public participation.
Sorry, there might be any other interest as well.
Sorry, any other interest?
Yeah, I just want to be clear about item 12. I don't have a pecuniary interest, but I work for the organisation who distributes part of the funding to the Clear Gardens project. So just to note that I have no decision-making capability, but just to note that proximity.
Thank you, Councillor Christen. That's very helpful.
Any other declarations of interest? No? Okay, thank you. Then on to number 3, public participation. To deal with any questions or brief representations from members of the public in accordance with relevant legislation and Super Town Council policy. Any? Yes, chap at the back.
Hello. I've already circulated you all with material about item 12. But I just wanted to note the start. Any recommendations for the part? There are two errors. One is to ask you to note the substantial progress made so far in this matter. I don't think it's all that substantial since it started in about 2020. We're now 4 years later. We don't seem to have made too much progress. Secondly, slightly more seriously, it talks about the widespread support from the public. That isn't quite true either. There are, according to the LDC planning website, which took the last planning decision on this, around about 52 representations from members of the public. They are split approximately 30 to 22, which means that 42%, which is quite a substantial number of people who have objected. I don't call that widespread support. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's noted. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak in public participation? So if anyone wants to speak on any agenda items, this is the time to speak on them. No? Okay, thank you. Then on to number 4, which is petitions. So in accordance with the Town Council petitions policy, standard items. So are there any petitions to be handed in?
No, Chair.
No? Okay, thank you. Right, then we are asked to note the following minutes approving or not approving recommendations as required. So the first one on here is the full council, 16th of November, full council minutes. Can I have everyone happy with those? And can I have a proposer for them? Councillor Rutland and a seconder, Councillor Borman, and all in favour. Thank you. Then item number 4.2, which is, oh hang on.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah.
Right, we're not approving the climate change subcommittee minutes at this moment in time.
Yeah.
Then 4.3 is community services, which was 7th of December. Any query? Councillor Jabbat?
Yes, I have a query on this. I said at the meeting that I didn't want the officers to be responsible for making final decisions on the things like the concessions, thank you. And we had a discussion about it, and at the end of the discussion you said that we should incorporate the chair and the possibly the vice chair.
Yeah.
But that wasn't noted into resolution, so I object to that.
Okay. Is that noted?
Yeah, we can note that the minutes have recorded the resolutions that were passed by the meeting.
Okay. Where do we want to go with that?
So you could still proceed with agreeing there's no.
Right, okay. So can I have a proposal then? Councillor Wearmouth and a seconder. Councillor Buchanan, and then all in favour. Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Right, sorry,
I was abstaining.
you're abstaining, is that right? And then on to 4.4, finance and general purposes, which was on the 19th of December. Any queries or no? Any proposer, please? Councillor, sorry, Bristow. Oh, sorry, we're not approving these at this stage either. Sorry, that's why they're stuck
So, no,
aside.
sorry, you can approve these apart from the budget recommendation, that's what the
Right.
vote means, Chair.
Okay.
So Councillor Bristow is fine to
Councillor
propose
Bristow.
them.
Are we not the same with the climate change, like pushing the minutes pop?
Because the note says that the minutes have been agreed in November 23, apart from the policy, which is now coming to. It's all quite complicated, I know, but it's just to make, for public transparency, we're just making sure that in 10 years' time, when people don't remember what we did, they can see from the agenda what was actually going on. So that 4.2, as the chair has shown, means that the policy will be considered and everything else has been agreed. 4.4 means you can agree it all apart from the budget, because you'll talk about that later. Hope that helps.
So just point of order,
Yes.
it's 5.4 because we're in
Oh, sorry,
section
5.
5.
I'm so sorry. Thank you, Councillor Vaughan.
It's
That's
just,
also
it's
noted.
just a error.
Yeah. So in 5.4, can we have a proposer then for that item?
Actually, can I say a point of order? Surely it's clearer, Chair, to approve the whole minutes as opposed to trying to pick and choose. But when it's all done, and that sounds pickety, I'd like to see where that's in standing orders, please.
I mean, that's noted, Councillor Hanman. It's been custom and practice at the council to do it in this.
Right, so it's not actually in standing orders then? Can I get noted in the minutes that I challenge that, please? I don't think it's.
We can
I think it's confusing. I think you either approve the whole minute, part approving.
Yeah.
That means that the next one goes to the next full council, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's entirely with the council.
So then you're only approving another part of the minute you've already half approved.
Yes.
So I think it's quite confusing. So I think in the future, can that be reviewed, please?
Okay, we'll take that away.
Okay, thank you. We'll just make a note here that review the minutes. Are you making a note? Right,
Can I just come back on that? We would approve the minutes because the minutes were the recommendation from that committee to take to full council. So the minutes for the meeting was correct, and then the recommendation to full council would be agreed.
Well, so I'm going to come back again, Chair. If you really want to be picky, you can approve these minutes right at the very end of the agenda, when we've already been through those items, and then that'll be a bit more of a clearer. That'll be a bit clearer, wouldn't it?
Okay, I think as it's been noted that we're going to review how
That's done
how
in the
this
future.
gets
Yeah.
done.
Thank you.
So I think it'll get reviewed and then we can come
Okay.
back.
Thank you.
And can I please remind councillors, as we're now in full council, if you're able to, please stand. If you're able to. Right. So I've got lost here. So have we had a proposal second for finance?
You've had a
We
proposal,
haven't.
you had another second.
We haven't had a second yet. Councillor
Councillor Vaughan
Bournemouth,
was a second.
and then all in favour. Thank you. I thought we hadn't finished that part off. Right, okay. Right, 5.5, the golf and the view, 5th of December. Can we have a proposer and seconder? So proposer, Councillor Denigi, and a seconder for the minutes, Councillor Rutland, and then all in favour. Thank you. 5.6, planning and highways. So are we happy to take them all together? Thank you. Can I have a proposer, Councillor Walraven, and a seconder, Councillor Borman, and then all in favour? Thank you. So, right, on to number 6, civic update reports, Mayor's update report. Any queries, questions on the mayor's update report? Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to congratulate you and the Deputy Mayor on an excellent carol service on the 13th and your team, the staff who all helped you to organise it. It was a wonderful evening and really uplifting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. There was a lot of organisation went into that. I keep saying Councillor Moore. Thank you. Right, can I have a, sorry, Councillor Bristol. Can I have a proposer? I'm going to propose it, and a seconder, Councillor Bristow, and then all in favour. Thank you. Then on to the young mayor's report.
Good evening. Before the new year, I attended Seaford Christmas Magic, which was a lovely event including so many people in Seaford. Also the carol service. I was very glad to have attended this to see children in Seaford coming together to be a part of this. Recently, I have started to plan a cocktail mocktail at the Macready Youth Centre with the help of Youth Forum. This is to raise money for the charities I have chosen this year, RNLI and Seaford Lifeguards. This is scheduled for the 16th of March and you will be very welcome. To continue fundraising and spreading awareness, I am waiting to hear back from primary schools across Seaford to hold a non-school uniform day following this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming. See you later. Bye.
Well done.
Bye. Thank you. Right, agenda item number 7, which is the town clerk's update report.
Thank you, Chair. I'm conscious we have quite a large agenda this evening, quite a lot to get through, so I hope everyone's had an opportunity to study the report. I'm very happy to hand back to you for any questions or comments on that.
Okay, Councillor Bristow.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to thank the town clerk for implementing this really nice and clear motions table. I think that's been a good direction forward, and it's useful to be able to get a kind of snapshot overview of what's taking place and what's taking place. So,
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. Councillor Antonigi.
Thank you. Thank you for a very nice sustained report. And just two things, please, in terms of forward planning. I think I mentioned to you before, I don't know if you're aware that this June is the 80th anniversary of D-Day celebrations. And I think it's quite important that Seaford does that. Even though it's on a weekday, I think it's quite important that we do show up, we did play a role for D-Day. So again, it's not on your fault planning, but I just hope you haven't.
I'm happy to take that now, Councillor. I'm very glad you asked, very glad to have that public record of that, and to say that as some councils will know, the project planning for D-Day is part of the project plan list that's been overseen by the Community Services Committee. So information about this has already been going through the Community Services Committee about the plans for D-Day.
Thank you. And if I can self-indulge myself here, you're obviously aware of that Lewis District Council is consulting on its local plan.
Yes.
There are, I know it's a consultation at this stage, but there are significant ramifications for that for Seaford. I'm aware that the planning committee will be considering this next week.
Yes.
So I just wondered why Seaford why this hasn't been brought to full council as one point, because I think Seaford needs to make its presence felt, and I just felt that it's an opportunity for us to stand up for our town. And I would have loved to see that. I would have loved to see it being discussed at full council before we make a representation on behalf of people of Seaford.
Thank you, Councillor. That point is carefully noted. I would hope that Lewis District Council would also listen seriously to the representations that are being put together through our Planning and Highways Committee. The current stage of the consultation is actually going through the Planning and Highways Committee 3 times. It's been through twice already, and now the detailed consideration for to make the detailed response will be the part of the February 1st meeting of the Planning and Highways Committee. And we're moving that to a larger venue because of the public interest, understandable public interest in this. At the same time, without anyone saying the wrong thing, in terms of the importance of this, the main stage around public consultation and town council consultation is the next stage of the process rather than this stage of the process, and I will take counsel from committee chairs about whether that stage of the process should also come through full council as well as planning highways.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further questions on Town Clerk's update report? Okay, thank you. We are asked, can I have a proposer then, please? Councillor Vera and a seconder, Councillor Rutland, all in favour? Yep, thank you. Right, agenda item.
Without reports, Chair, sorry.
Sorry.
You've got to do
I forgot to put my note on there to go back.
8, 9 and 10.
8, 9 and 10.
Reports, so we'll do those now, Chair. Thank you.
Forgot to put those on there. Right, we are under number 8, which is Town Council Working Group reports. Councillor Cannon.
Thank you, Chair. Just a very quick update on the Southhill Barn working group. The working group will be preparing a brief and feasibility study regarding the future of Southhill Barn. 6 formal meetings of the working group have been scheduled. The first 2 meetings were held in October and December last year. The third meeting is planned for February next month. The initial work has included visits to similar sites, such as Charleston in Firle and the South Downs National Park Seven Sisters Visitor Centre. These visits have been very informative and bode well for ongoing synergy and collaboration with potential Southhill Barn usage. Current work includes initial meetings with stakeholders such as South Downs National Park to understand funding potential and planning issues, Sussex Wildlife Trust and the National Trust. This work is a precursor to exploring particular ideas towards a vision for how Southhill Barn may move forward, keeping in mind the value to Seaford and with sustainability and the environment also in mind.
Thank you. Councillor Norman.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. The Seaford Town Football Club working groups met once. We've had a bit of a change of membership. We're looking into setting up some future dates, and when it starts to get lighter in the evenings, a visit to the town football club site itself to have a look around. So there'll be more of an update at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Any other working party groups? No? Okay, thank you. Then on to outdoor body representative reports. Councillor Gregorian.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I attended a Bishopstown United Charities meeting on Monday, and which looks after Edric House in Bishopstown Village. And everything's running fine, finances and everything. But one thing which has cropped up is that the bathroom windows on both 1 and 2 Edric House at the back are having to be replaced. So we'll be looking for a planning application because it's a listed building, grade 2 listed building, and obviously in the conservation area. Other than that, everything is fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. Just want to report back on the newly reconstituted Health Stakeholders Group, which has met twice now in November and January, and we are pleased to have participants. We have councillor representation and officer representation from SVC, but we also have a variety of local organisations that are representing health organisations, social care, disability access and other care organisations, and the group is keen to work alongside the newly formed reconstituted Health NHS Sussex, which is an integrated care board now, and we've been having intermittent meetings, Zoom meetings with the chair of that agency as well, and the purpose of this group, and they're going to actually look at their terms of reference now, they've met a couple of times next time, is actually thinking about how we can facilitate better communication between all the health groups, and that includes our local GP surgeries, as well as mental health, dental health and others. So we haven't got total representation from all of those bodies as yet, but we do have names now because we're working at a higher level to actually get representation and to link with those agencies. So we're hoping that this can be quite a dynamic local information hub for health issues at the moment, and certainly we will be able to report back on any changes or developments in local health and social care. Thank you.
Any other reports that outdoor bodies? Councillor Wilmot?
I attend on Zoom the Joint Action Group on a monthly basis, which is a very interesting and useful collaboration of police, parking and various district and county council officers to talk about issues relating to parking and other sort of crime and behavioural issues. And we're raising the issues of antisocial behaviour in relation to parking on the seafront and other drug-related concerns that seem to be popping up too. So we are giving them, or I'm giving them, a regular account of this, and this is running parallel with my role as taking forward the issues of public behaviour in relation to seafront parking. So we're informing our local partners about the issues and trying to unleash really all the different layers of council to try and get action taken to stamp out antisocial behaviour on the seafront and outside.
Thank you. Any other Councillor Hogan?
Thank you very much. It's a very short one. This is the Seaford to Brighton or Railway Partnership, which is now called Sussex Downs Railway Partnership. It's been renamed, but that's the area it refers to. So the meeting was late December, so late November, hence it didn't get to the November full council, otherwise I would have mentioned it there. The key thing to Seaford obviously itself, the whole line is particularly Seaford to Brighton, so there's various stations, the various communities involved. Key bits there is the ongoing gateway going out of the station, and that's proved very successful. You've then got the Friends of Bishopston Station itself up for various awards. I lost track how many awards they've been to or going to, but that particular venue there for the west side of Seaford has been proved very successful, and I know that will be ongoing for quite a long time. And there are arguing some alterations on the station. I'm not sure how far they got with that. It did include actually putting a fence up on the disused platform, which I'm not sure how well that's going to go down. Well, that's been talked about in the last sort of year. I think that gets away from planning permission. I'm not sure that one. I haven't even thought about that. But it's more of a safety issue. Put up some form of fence along that disused platform. And then finally, we're looking at the Sussex their own local plan, which is probably start ultimately, but we're looking at the rail aspects in that particular part as opposed to the other forms of transport, as well as rail group. So I think the next meeting will be focusing on the rail aspects when that's particular published, when that particular plan's actually published, the rail transport plan of East Sussex to be published imminently.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Any district and county council update reports? Councillor
Yes, as Councillor Antonigi alluded to earlier, the District Council is currently consulting on its local plan. The current stage relates mostly to the sites which can be included in the plan and the policies which are related to the plan. The District Council works within quite a tight framework in terms of what they can actually do with their plan. But if residents do want to comment and look through the, I think, thousands of pages of paperwork related to the local plan, it's all available on the District Council's website. And to make comment, as mentioned before, it's not the final stage of consultation, but it is quite a crucial one because it's the first one where those sites start to appear and those opinions start to be formed on those. Another bit of planning news is the Florence House appeal went to the planning inspector, and that appeal was rejected, which means the development is not going ahead, which means the District Council actually won a planning appeal, which is unusual, and has actually been a case where the council has spent quite a bit of money losing planning appeals, so local residents that had opposed that quite strongly, I'm sure will be pleased. And the other final update, as I was discussing with Councillor Bristow earlier, we've got there's new rules on the bins coming from Lewis District Council, which for various people means different things. But the headline is that get in touch with the council if you've got any worries about whether you've got the right bin or not, and you will be able to get a free replacement from the council.
Thank you. Any other district updates? Councillor Nunty?
Thank you very much. Three minor things. I attended the county council cabinet meeting on Tuesday, and it was agreed that the cabinet will propose to full council next month a council tax increase of 2.99%, and an adult social care precept of 2%, so there will be a total increase of 4.99%. Obviously, unlike the town council, the county council obviously relies on funding from central government, so the funding that didn't come through as expected, so there will be a deficit this year, but luckily the county council has got enough reserves, so we'll be using £40 million from the reserves for the first time in a long time to actually balance the books this year. As we very briefly mentioned by Councillor Moneyman, the East Sussex County Council is consulting on its long-term LTP, local transport plan, for 2024 to 2050. The consultation ends on the 25th of February. So the local transport plan covers things like rail, public transport within the county. So again, we've got 3 weeks to make a representation. And finally, the county council are organising a series of free winter weekend events in libraries across the county. So if anybody might be interested, just pop into the local library and find out more.
Thank you. Right. We're then on to agenda item number 11. So this is to present a budget and precept proposal for 2024 to 2025.
Yes, thank you very much. You've all got the report and hope you've had a chance to go through it. I'd just like to thank Lucy for actually putting drawing up the draft figures in the first place, and then we've been through a series of meetings with the various heads of departments, the heads of the different committees, and also like to thank the councillors who came to the briefing session we had a couple of weeks ago, which I think was quite a useful event, and for those less familiar with the process, I think it's better to understand the steps that we went through to get to that stage. I'm happy to answer any questions if councillors have any. Thank you very much.
Any questions? Councillor Warren.
Thank you. I think I know the answer, but it's just to clarify that town council is now doing the toilet cleaning costs, covering the cost. Is this included in the budget, and does it come under 4201? Is that what that is? Because that's an additional cost. Yes. Thank you.
So turn to the person who knows the detail a bit more.
Thank you. Councillor Bristow.
Thank you. Thanks very much for preparing this. I've been part of the process of it going through, so great to see that the recommendation is actually pretty healthy, I think, compared to a lot of other councils. I have a specific query, and that is having had a point raised some time ago about the rent reviews for the leases of our assets, and I know that was taken away as an action for officers to review and see if we're where we need to be with in terms of compliance. I was just wondering if I could get a progress update on that and ask whether that's been included in this or whether that's still forthcoming. Thank you.
We have done a lot of work on this, and what will be happening is that when any of the 4 leases under that query, when the next rent review takes place, council will be presented with a market value for the land as well as the rent being charged to the organisations that are within it. And obviously at that point councils will be able to make financial decisions relating to that. But there's nothing in this budget that's not within the period. But I think it's worth stressing as well that the 4 leases this relates to are all historic arrangements that was inherited by the council from Lewes District Council when the land transferred. So Lewes District historically were very happy for these organisations to not pay a market rent based upon the community value they give. The town council took that forward from 20 years ago when the transfer took place, and if there's been any further leases since that point, lease renewals effectively, if you like, the councils have been happy to continue with that arrangement. We do recognise the point that's been raised, but we think it's sufficient for the next rent review to consider the market value, and then councils will decide whether they wish to carry on with that current arrangement or whether they wish a different arrangement with different tenants paying more of market rent. And as I say, but it's completely, it's quite usual for councils to do what this council has done and the Lewes District did before, which is where there is basically a social community value. You don't charge a market rent because you recognise it's not really a commercial business arrangement. So that's the steps that we've progressed. And as I say, when the leases, all of the leases have rent review periods within them, and the next rent review, which has to be considered by full council in any case, and that will consider market rents at the same time if councils wish to change the arrangement.
Do you want to come back on the same point?
Yes. Thank you very much. That's a really good and comprehensive explanation and telling us what's going on. And I do recognise that point that, you know, whilst we may not decide as councillors to go for a market rent, it's that kind of benchmarking and giving us the information that we need to make those decisions in a thorough and proper way that we can then, you know, use our discretion. And also just basic things like, you know, taking into account inflation that's happened and all sorts of increases as we know that there have been. So I'd like to know when those next rent reviews will happen, because I know we've been speaking about this for some time, and will they certainly happen before the next budget setting process starts, for example? Because I think, you know, we need to pin this down to a timescale now.
Okay. We can take that away and certainly make sure we share the relevant rent review dates. All of those leases obviously were agreed by full council, and within those leases, those councils would have seen at the time that they agreed were the rent review arrangements was how many years passed before the reviews happened. So each of those leases has got rent review dates within them, so we can circulate those to discuss.
Thank you. Councillor Stone.
Just a quick query about the length of the renewal period on these leases when we were last renewed.
Yes.
Can you remember the time frame on them, and in particular, were a extended for a period in excess of 7 years?
Again, that's information that we can make sure is shared with councillors. As we say, what I would say is in all 4 cases, the occupation of the site has been for a significant period, going back in fact to the period before Seaford Town Council took the arrangement on. So it may well be that the councils were happy at that point to enter into a long-term lease arrangement, but obviously we can confirm that in terms of the number of years in each case.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Spurs.
Yeah, just to note, say thank you to Andy, Lucy and the officers for the work on the budget. It's a good budget, and I'm very pleased to see a modest rise in the precept, which is below inflation, to hopefully not have a maximum impact on residents during the cost of living crisis, but also continue to provide services and continue projects like rebuilding the toilets. So it will be voted in favour of the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Moyman.
Again, I don't know. Just a query on this particular place where we're talking at the moment. Now, obviously, we're not in a confidential session at the moment, but saying this is run by commercial people, which is in the news, and that decision is made. Obviously, what we're looking at the moment, it excludes all that, is though we're carrying on the status quo, doesn't it? That's what we're looking at. So obviously, if a situation did change that the commercial enterprise is going to be running this particular enterprise where we are at the moment, then obviously you've probably got example, and there are lots of different versions of this, where basically lots of figures will be slightly all out of place, wouldn't they, obviously, because it would be another company, and the view, funding for the view would be very different, wouldn't it? That's what I was trying to say. So this is what we're looking at, is for, it doesn't include what might happen in the next few months.
Again, I have to be careful because of the exempt nature of some of these discussions, Councillor, so I'm not quite sure how much that question I can answer in the public session. So others, please help me out here if I start to stray into exempt waters and pull me back out of them, please. Thank you very much. It was made very clear in the November full council decision that was made, and also within the budget papers that have been shared by councillors, that the version of the budget being agreed is consistent with the full council decision made in November 2023. Councillors were also, as part of the budgeting process, have been, within the relevant committees, have been made aware of the financial difference if a different decision were to be made. So what that means in practice is that this budget is based upon the motions that council have passed up to this point, and so the budget tonight, so unless if councillors were to change things in the exempt item this evening, of course the financial implication of that will be understood, but we may well be looking at appropriate financial routes for understanding any change in process that will happen as a result of that. RFO, I may have spoken for you, I don't know, was there anything you wanted to know?
I'd say exactly the same.
Thank you.
So the answer goes on this anyway, so thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on the budget? Okay, then we are asked to, if everyone's happy, I'll take all three together, because there doesn't seem to be much conjecture here. So I'm going to take all three together, which is to know the contents of the report and associated attachments, to agree the budget proposed for 2024 to 2025, to agree the precept request to Lewes District Council 2024 to 2025. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Hurrick and a second of Councillor Walraven, and then all in favour. Thank you. It's carried.
Thank you.
Right, on to agenda item number 12, which is to present an update on the Cliff Gardens and Pumpfield Educational Project for Seawood Community Partnership.
Yes, so just, I'm just going to, sorry Chair, just so we discussed this, that basically how we're going to do this. We're very grateful to representatives from the Seawood Community Partnership who attended this meeting this evening. So how we're going to do this, and they obviously provide the information that you've been shared with as part of the report. So the Chair is going to propose that we suspend standing orders so you can ask any questions about the information that you have. And then if there are any questions, then these people will endeavour to help to answer them. When that bit's finished, we will then put standing orders back, and then you'll consider the motions on top of the report. Make sense to everybody? Thanks, Chair. Over to you, Chair.
Right, thank you. Can I have a proposal, please, to suspend thank you, Councillor Rutlands, and then a seconder, and then all in favour, and that's to suspend standing orders. I couldn't get it out for some reason.
So it was
suspended. Right. So any questions that we want to raise about to present an update on Cliff Gardens and Pumpfield Educational Project from Seawood Community Partnership? Councillor Devon.
Yes, hi. I'd like to know what the lifespan of the structures and the cycle path are, please. What the maintenance is needed, how that's going to be paid for, and who's going to be responsible for the public liability of the sites. Thank you.
The lifespan of the road of the cycle track and the footpath is dependent to some extent on what material we use, and that's currently open because of the planning conditions. But we've been looking for at least 20 years and probably more. The usage will be cycling and walking, so there should not be a massive wear of the track. The physical structures will be mainly of corten steel, which will last a long time. Again, more than 20 years, I would say, possibly 30 years. And then the final question was the cost of maintenance. At the end of the project, we will then be in a better position to assess what the cost will be. And one of the options open to us would be to seek some funding from the National Lottery or some other source. But we don't anticipate the costs being significant. Also, as far as the beds are concerned, we're anticipating a lot of work being done by volunteers, so we'll continue to be nice to everybody so that they will help. Yes. Do you want to add anything, Hilary?
Well, we're hoping for ongoing sponsorship rather like the shoulder, and so I hope that we'll be able to factor in maintenance with this money coming in after construction.
Okay. What about the public liability of the sites?
Well, whilst the work is being done, the partnership has public liability insurance. For work done by volunteers, there's a process in hand for volunteers to be covered by the third-party insurance of the town council. We've had discussions with Tony Jackson before he left, and he's laid out what we need to do in order to have that cover from the town council for volunteers. The long-term liability, we would, as the land is owned by the Seaford Town Council and the structure will eventually be owned by Seaford Town Council, we would anticipate, but we haven't discussed, that the third-party liability insurance will be covered on an ongoing basis by the Seaford Town Council.
Councillor Bristow?
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, hi. So I've got some queries that I've had through from residents which I'd like to voice. Thank you. Thank you for explaining what you've explained so far. Regarding the Corton steel, now there's actually manufacturer's advice to be very hesitant to use it within a kilometre of the sea due to the high salt content of the air and humidity. And whilst you say this might be finely determined by planning, I know Corton steel is very successful in a lot of places, but right up there by the beach, I wonder if you're looking at any alternatives currently in case that's something which you might need to change your mind on. I've also had it raised that the beach garden that's down as you come down from Morrison's further along has now, the town council are doing quite a lot of maintenance on that and an ongoing cost in it is being discussed. So I think, maybe how do we as a council and the community partnership come together and work together to ensure kind of the long-term sustainability of, say, the sustainability projects, if you like, and how can we do that better? Because it seems like there are quite a few ends which are still to be discussed, and I'd like to know more about the process as people living around there would like to know more about that process for coming together and moving forward. So, thank you.
Any further questions?
I'll take that first, and then Hilary can supplement the answer. As far as Corton steel is concerned, we're not at the present time looking at alternatives. All the inquiries we've made have indicated that it's a suitable material to be close to the sea, as it already is rusted anyway. So we had some unease about the possibility of the rust rubbing off on people's clothing. And that was one of the reasons where we've gone for wooden lats on the beds, so that people won't need to rub up against the core 10. On the present beach garden arrangement, that's been it was originally funded by the town council back in 2011. Since then, the maintenance has been done by volunteers, and over pre-pandemic, for half a day per month, the contractor, now Iverdi, provided 2 people for half a day a month when we were meeting up with the working party. As far as money for the maintenance is concerned, it's been trivial paint, £20 and so on. And anything else? Have we had any money for, Hillary? We've put in an estimate that we might need some more shingle. And again, we're not talking about vast amounts of money. With less than £100, £200, but we haven't used more shingle at the moment, and we might do in future. Anything else you want to add, Hillary?
Yeah, lots. Hello, yes. From the point of view of finance for Beach Garden, I would say emphatically, since before COVID, we have had no help. The help we had from, I call it ID Ready, but whatever, stopped with the pandemic. I have actually asked that we could go back to the pre-pandemic system, as Keith has said, about doesn't even have to be 2 men for 4 hours, but mostly to take the rubbish away, because that it is really quite a problem. From the point of view of the shingle, and there were 2 items, painting of the benches and the shingle. We did put in for a small grant, I think it was £500, and were told, no, please don't do it this way, because we do have some funds, and I can't remember which one it was in the council, and we could do it this other way. And so we did apply for 2 big sacks of gravel and enough paint to do the next coat of paint, which came to £400 or something like that, which we haven't drawn on yet, but we would love the gravel for next spring. So it is done by volunteers. As far as the plants are concerned, we grow them up. We know which plants grow down there, and 2 or 3 of us grow them up and transplant. So I would like to put that record straight, that we're not putting forward requests to the council. Thank you.
Shall I just add that ID Ready have now agreed to reinstate the pre-COVID arrangements.
You can come back on that, and then Councillor Sturton wants to speak.
Thank you very much for explaining that, and that's really good to see how, Secret Community Partnership and the Town Council can have dialogue and sort these things going forward. And I think, whichever way we go, that's really going to be really important for this Cliff Gardens project. So thank you for explaining that. On the Corten steel, it was more about the actual manufacturers themselves are talking about peeling of the steel and that kind of thing. So that was why that was raised, rather than just the rusting and the thickness and all that kind of stuff. So as long as you're aware of that, and that's in hand, and I think the council are aware of it and it's in hand, it's always better to flag these things early in the project than when it's too late. So, there we are. Thank you.
Can I just come back on that? We have had lengthy discussions with Corten, and as you say, it's about the thickness that we would need. They know exactly how near the sea it is. I think Corten American websites have sort of said rather differently from what Corten UK have said. We could put a coating, especially on beds 1 and 2, which would have most drift, salt drift. We can also put a coating on the inside, because it would be the salt water that runs down in the soil and is against the inside that will corrode. But they are still saying that the lifespan showing us the amount of corrosion per year for Durban would be 25 years. So we are going along with what they're saying. It's very hard to think with that design what material we can use. We thought, okay, we'll use old sleepers, etc. But the meander path, which is so integral to the design, which sort of mimics the shoal, calls for something flexible. And Corten's what Christian Farmer can work with. This is the other thing. He is a metal worker, and this will be the most durable of the metals that we'll work with.
Thank you. Councillor Stern.
Thank you. I have, I suspect, seen the same correspondence with members of our wards as Councillor Bristol. And I do share some of the concerns. I'm no expert in materials, but I do know something about product liability and exclusions of product liability. So I do urge you to do your due diligence on this, because the last thing you want is at some point down the line something happening that might not be been predicted, and the manufacturer saying, well, it's within a kilometre of the seafront, it's in one of our exclusions, you have no contact with us, it's outside what we warrant our product for. We should be careful about it. Do your diligence.
Yes, it would be helpful to see the correspondence from the individuals or groups concerned to try to be as helpful as possible at responding to their concerns.
Thank you. Councillor Hanlon.
Thank you very much. Just a couple of questions to keep here. I think I might know the answer to this, but obviously mentioned Ivy Verde again. So the Sunken Garden or Beach Garden is the more official name. Sunken Garden is the nickname, isn't it, in a way?
Well, it's the middle part of
yeah.
the three.
So it's sunk, isn't it, compared to... So is the entire land behind and surrounding, is it also owned by STC, or was there ever LDC? I just can't quite work out the picture around that particular part. There's footpaths going within, that go up towards Morrison on the left, and then to the right.
Certainly the whole...
There's nothing, there's no different council land surrounding it, is there? But I know there's private land as well, isn't there, with the blocks of flats as well, isn't there? Is that correct? I just wondered if how the extent of what SDC's land really is.
Yeah, this was covered in the January 2022 full council discussion. Essentially, the main part of the field and the top part of the road is within STC Engine.
I was talking about the other bit. I know I digress because obviously the comparison.
Sorry, you weren't clear with your question.
Yeah, no, it's more to do with the beach garden area as opposed to the other area, because I can see Keith and Hilary and the team are using the beach garden as a bit of an example for the cliff garden, if you see what I mean. Because it overlaps, what happens there. So it was the land down there.
Sorry, Captain.
That was my sorry.
I misunderstood. George can help.
You see what I mean, though? I'm trying to interrupt you, but you see where I'm coming from.
Through you, Chair, sorry. So, the Sunken Garden area is owned by the Town Council. The green space behind, so Green Lane, green space, is
a couple of seats and things.
That's owned by the District Council.
Of course it was. So there's obviously interaction there.
Yeah, so there's the footpath that goes through the...
It's like a triangle, isn't it? Okay. That helps me. And that will obviously, that's where ID Verde get involved a little bit. Is that with the arrangement? Is that how it works? Probably a private arrangement between SCP and Keith, isn't it? And ID Verde, yeah, obviously.
ID Verde are the contractors employed by Lewes District Council, and in turn Lewes District Council provides contract management for the maintenance of land owned by Seaford Town Council.
Okay, that's one.
Councillor Woodhouse.
Just a quick one. I might have missed it in the papers, but has a flood assessment been undertaken? Because we know that Martello Field, right beside it, is prone to quite troublesome flooding from time to time. And has that been, as a basic, has that been undertaken just to make sure that your much welcome and hard work is not spoilt in the future? And secondly, the cycle path that's going down the side of it, would it be wide enough to allow emergency vehicles, for example, through if there were crowds and events and things?
The emergency vehicles point, as part of the planning consideration by the planners, the emergency services were consulted and told what was being proposed. And what's being proposed is that there will be bollards at both ends of the cycle path and the footpath. and vehicles will not be able to go on either of those. The emergency service were consulted and made no comments. They made no objections. And the other point was the flood assessment. We haven't had a formal assessment, but the garden is on the road, and the road is above the level of both Martello fields. The experience of last winter really concentrated our minds in that we original intention was not to put drainage on the road, hence the garden itself, but we will now have drainage, and the drainage will be simply digging trenches, putting shingle in, so that water will then drain into the field, which is a lower level. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to raise a question. When you mentioned about the long-term liability hasn't been discussed yet, when's that planning to be discussed? And it was mentioned also about, you talked to Tony Jackson about third-party insurance and STC. Have you had a follow-up in discussion about that? And has that still been agreed with Town Council?
We had an exchange of emails at the time, and Tony had been in touch with the insurers, or the Town Council's insurers. I'm not aware of any change in that arrangement. If there is, obviously we need to look at it.
Okay, thank you. So about, so the long-term liability, that's got us, as you say, still got to be discussed?
Yes. It isn't a subject we've specifically discussed, but it is a garden on Seaford Town Council land. So I can't see how the Seaford Town Council could argue that they don't have any liability.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yes, certainly when we worked with Tony, year by year, he wanted to know volunteer hours, which we worked out, and then I think on the same basis as Trees for Seaford, he was working out the sort of liability insurance that you people needed.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Lord.
Mrs. Brooke, well, who's liable for the public liability insurance now?
The community partnership has third-party liability insurance.
Right.
The
would that be transferred over to Seaford Town Council?
Sorry?
Would that be transferred over to Seaford Town Council then?
What?
Yeah. If the community partnership has got third-party liability for it now,
for the work that is done.
Right. The land currently belongs to Seaford Town Council, is that correct?
Yes.
Right. So, at the present moment in time, who's liable for the land now?
Seaford Town
Yes,
Council.
well, there's no change then, is there? There's no change then.
There's no change. Yeah. As far as when the work is being done, Christian Full has third-party public liability insurance for the work that he's doing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Right, any further questions? Right, so I'm going to reinstate standing orders now. So can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Walraven, a second, Councillor Ballman, and then all in favour. Right, thank you. Right, we are asked to note the contents of this report and then to note the following: the substantial progress made so far and the widespread support from the public. The need for a stopping up order for the Department of Transport before Christian Funnel can start building the beds which volunteers will fill with chalk, soil, etc. for planting. And then C, the further work necessary by the team to identify suitable materials for the cycle track and footpath and the possible adverse impacts on costs and timescales. Is everyone happy if I take those all together?
Yes. I would rather not take them all together,
okay.
Partly because the point of view that Mr. Downey raised, I have no empirical evidence of widespread public support. So I think it's better to just take them individually.
Okay, that's fine. I just thought I'd ask you. Right, so I'm going to read out. So to note the following. So A, which is the stamp. I won't read it out again. So for number A, to do with the progress and to do widespread support from the public, can I have a proposer, please? Go to Hora and a seconder. Councillor Matthews, and then all in favour? Okay, any against? Any abstentions?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
No abstentions, thank you, Chair.
Right, okay, thank you. Are we happy to take the next two together? Yep, okay. So can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Borman and Councillor Seconder with Councillor Wearmouth, and then all in favour? Thank you. Thank you very much.
These two against
And any against?
Any abstention?
Any abstentions?
That was everyone then. Sorry, I wasn't much sure if you voted for that. Thank you.
Right, agenda item number 13. Final adoption of climate emergency policy. To present the draft climate emergency policy for final adoption as recommended by the Climate Change Subcommittee.
Thank you, Chair. As I say, this is a recommendation coming from the Climate Change Subcommittee, and as I say, so the route to where we got to is explained in the report, and the actual draft consideration is in the report. So, Chair, I'm happy to take questions from the floor.
Any questions? Councillor Buchanan?
Thank you. Item 2. So it'll be the live date for the new policy to come into effect. I may need to be educated on what that might mean and what the implications are of a live date.
I can do, yes. Thank you.
Chair of the subcommittee.
Yeah, so speaking as the chair of the subcommittee. So this policy has been quite a while coming, but the reason for that is we wanted it to be well considered, both with councillors and officers, and indeed, in order to enact many of the points in the policy, we will need to put in place a strategy, which we're going to call the Climate Action Plan, in line with what usually happens at other councils. There will be a degree of consultation with community groups on these sort of wider points. We're going to need to consider what we're already doing in-house, which is already quite considerable, but there is more to come in. And then there's a sort of middle ground of what can we influence in the town. So because there's quite a work package in the round coming with this, we wanted to get councillors' agreement on the points in the policy, so to actually agree the policy itself, but then to have a live date, in effect, an effective date, in the near future, but to give officers and councillors time to undertake those bits of planning work. And if I may go on to propose when that would be, our next Climate Change Subcommittee meeting is in April, and the next Community Services Committee meeting, which is our parent committee, is in June. And having had some discussions with the head of Assets, Projects and Services, who I'm afraid isn't here tonight, but not on this particular point, but sort of discussing things in the round, I would propose that we would go for a live date of the 13th of June or the 1st of July, just sort of shortly after the Community Services meeting, which will give us time to go through those processes and put a plan in place, and hopefully something that everyone's happy with, programme things in. So that's kind of why we wanted to do it in this slightly two-stage way. In order to do that, of course, we need councillors' agreement on the policy itself, or to note any changes that we might need to sort of thrash out between now and then. So I hope that explains where we're coming at. Thank you.
Any questions? No? Okay. Right, we are asked to adopt the draft climate emergency policy as recommended by the Climate Change Subcommittee, and to agree the live date for the new policy to come into effect. Are we all happy to set those together?
Do we need a second on the live date proposed by Councillor Bristow? I'm happy to second 30th of June.
Yep, okay. So you put it as an amendment?
Yeah, it's effectively an amendment to the motion.
Yep, okay, so we have a proposer and we have a seconder. All in favour with that motion that's come through for number 2?
Actually, can I just say something? Can I just query Councillor Hickory, date please. Did you just, where did that date come from?
Well, Councillor Bristow gave the date.
Is that just because of the post community services meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
fine.
Councillor Bristow explained, the date, reason for that. Right, okay, we're going to go back to number 1. So that's to adopt the draft climate emergency policy as recommended by the Climate Change Subcommittees. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Buchanan and a seconder, Councillor Bristow, and then all in favour.
That's everyone, Chair.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we've done it round the other. We've done 1 and 2, so do we need to vote again on number 2? Because we've done it.
No, we didn't actually do a vote on them.
No, okay, that's fine. I just wanted to check if we need to do it again, because that's one round again. Right, so everyone's happy to go, sorry. So number 2 is to agree the live date for the new policy to come effect, which is the 30th of June, which has been proposed and seconded and agreed, but we're going to agree again. So we've got a proposer and we've got a seconder, and they're all in favour. Right.
That's everyone, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you're a step ahead of the Chair. Thank you. It's because it's 2 minutes and I need to get back to 1.
Right, agenda item number 14. To present the draft concessions policy for final adoption as recommended by the Community Services Committee.
Thank you, Chair. Again, as really similar to 13, I'm very grateful to the Community Services Committee councillors for their careful consideration of the draft policy at their meeting, and amendments were agreed there that are reflected in the version that comes before you this evening. So on that basis, again, happy to hand back to you, Chair, for any questions and their consideration by councillors.
Thank you. Any questions, Councillor Warren?
Thank you. I just wanted to, on agenda page 85, care condition and cleanliness, sustainable waste and recycle management, instead of just waste management. It's towards the end of the that paragraph.
So all concessions will be required to provide. Sorry, Councillor Warren, you want to just put some more bits in?
Yeah, all concessions will be required to provide sustainable waste recycling management at their site and must have their own waste and recycle bins.
And recycle bins. Okay.
Thank you.
I think, Chair, that's an amendment. So would anyone like to second Councillor Warren's amendment?
Councillor Gorman.
Okay, so we'll be voting on that version of the wording when we do the vote. Thank you, everyone.
I've got a query on that.
Yeah, go for it.
Thank you, Councillor Warren, for your suggestion for the amendment. I'm just wondering, more widely here, along the beach, which is where a lot of our concessions are, we don't currently have the possibility to have recycling waste collected, so our bins, which are town council bins, are just general waste bins. Would a specific recycling bins, which the concessions have, would they then need their own kind of contract to dispose of that, and is that something that's doable for them? As much as I would like to see it in place from an environmental point of view, is that practicable, is my question. I'm not sure at the moment whether their bins are collected as our bins are, sort of in the same, or whether they have a particular commercial waste arrangement, for example, whether that falls under our town council arrangements, I suppose, is the nub of my question.
I think that my guess, Councillor Webber, is that this is a policy, so it's designed to be for all potential concessions that the council may have. I guess that the wording could be interpreted as meaning where this is possible. So that's the interpretation we want to make of the wording. I think with that understanding, I think that's the intention that you have, Councillor Warren. Is that fair?
Yeah, it's just that with some of the concessions, you see all the plastic and paper going in one bin, and I think it should be separated. Especially the way the town council want to see recycling. Thank you.
Right, any, Councillor Rutland?
I have a question. On page 84, it's got about tenants licence applications. And I remember last year, or was it the year before, when the Salt Cafe applied for an alcohol licence, and when he said that there wouldn't be an alcohol licence permitted.
Yeah.
If there's a temporary event licence allowed, would we allow there to be an alcohol served from the cafe, or would that be something that would be exempt from this application for tenants?
Well, I think that might be one of the reasons for the addition to the policy, to enable due consideration of such a request. Have I read that correctly?
I remember there was a lot of debate at the time that it was the cafe.
Yeah. But that's actually one of the drivers behind this clause, which is making it clear to any concession holder, if they're considering anything requiring an alcohol licence, that they've consulted the council ahead of that happening. That's what the purpose of this sentence is. Learning from that experience.
Can we have it that any licence for the Salt Cafe is excluded from any tenants licences?
Well, I think that any consideration by the chair or vice chair would have to follow any motions or policies of council in making that consideration. And the particular, but also that particular concession is being re-tendered. So just means so this policy is designed to cover that process going forward.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Clay?
Yeah, on the run, but it's my understanding that temporary event notices.
If you're able to.
I find it uncomfortable, to be honest. It's my understanding that temporary event notices go before district council for approval.
The statutory, there's two, that's a very absolutely correct, Councillor Clay. So as was covered really when things were going on with the Salts Cafe, and it's come up quite a lot actually because we own a lot of land as an organisation, so this comes up quite a lot, where there are statutory responsibilities in relation to the land, which is held by the relevant statutory authority. So in this case, alcohol licence, LDC, correct. But there's also landowner permission for activities, and this is about the landowner permission, not about the legal licence from LDC. It's about the second permission.
Okay, we have Councillor.
I just want to clarify that the TENS licence is not an alcohol licence, so if anybody wanting to rent the salts in the future and wanted an alcohol licence, they'd have to apply to the alcohol authority at Lewis.
Yes.
And be subject to that. It's not for STC to make a decision on that.
We would still be, as landowner, our permission still be required.
Yes.
Whatever the decision of LDC in relation to alcohol licence. What happens in practice is that if LDC get such an application for a land that's owned by us, they get on to us because they want us to determine it before they determine, if that makes sense. Because then so much we waste time for not getting permission.
This is temporary event licence, and anything at the salts would not be temporary because that is a contracted 3-year layoff,
Yes,
5-year
absolutely.
place. So it wouldn't be included in that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bournemouth next.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, page 83, we have the variety in site ownership, and especially as it's all going out for tender, all our concessions and that going. I actually welcome that we're going to start to look at different concession owners for our concessions rather than the monopoly that we've had so far.
Thank you, Councillor Bournemouth.
Thank you. Councillor Atanici.
Thank you, Chair. This probably was a question. Obviously, we're not writing, we're not involved, and that's the attraction of seafood is that we've kept our concessions policy very reasonably. I can't say anything that I guess my concern is I'm worried that we will start using that as a carte blanche to have more concessions in town. There's nothing in it that actually helps restrict the number to quality I would have to do something that can restrict the number of concessions we have, so that we don't go on an expansion spree of concessions in town.
I think that's a fair point, Councillor Antonigi. This policy is very much around the applications for concessions that we receive. How the land is used lies with Community Services Committee. So Community Services would have to, as has happened in the past, you know, we've had requests for additional things like the sauna and Skipper Water Sports doing their water sports shop. They've gone through the relevant committee of council because of us being landowners. So that practice will continue.
Councillor Russell.
Yes, so is this policy for concessions that are already in place? Any new concessions, they would go to community services, is that what you're saying? Can you clarify that, please?
Yeah, and so this is really the purpose of this policy, is to make sure that when people are applying for a concession, that they're following the terms and conditions, they're clear about the terms and conditions that the council is going to set in their agreement for their concession, and that comes from policy. So that gives councils assurance about how those concessions are implemented. They will follow this policy. Decisions about how many concessions and where they're going to be lie with the Community Services Committee.
Councillor Hara.
Yeah, welcome the policy and the changes are sensible. I've just been staring at licensing paragraph so long that I noticed a typo in the second sentence.
Oh, really?
If additional licences.
Okay, we'll make that correction. Thank you, Councillor Hara.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Honeyman.
Thank you, Chair. In light of what just been said about this is basically for the application side, is the title concession policy the right one? I mean, is that could it be a better phrased title in that sense? Because concessions policy sounds like it could be every aspect of it.
No, I mean, I was. If you look at the top of page 82. You'll see very clearly set out what this policy is doing. So I think, so if council probably would feel that that's sufficient for there to be clarity on what's happening.
Any further questions? I just wanted to raise a thing on page 85 where it says repair conditions and cleanliness, where it says this includes supporting with shingle clearance for seafront concessions. What does that actually mean? Are they going to be? Is everyone going to be out there with brooms sweeping to clear the shingle, or what does that actually mean?
I think so.
They're actually out. So what if they're not able to do?
Again, I think that's the purpose of this is to make that make an expectation clear, while understanding that of course the size and scale of the concession will inform how much help they can give to clearing a shingle. Obviously, the seafront concessions have an interest in the shingle being cleared, so it's about us working together to achieve that.
Okay. So we don't have anyone
having that clarity for concession holders.
Yeah. So just to remind me, do we not have? Years ago, there used to be, I think the council used to, maybe the district council used to clear the shingle. Does that mean they now don't do it anymore? Or do they do some but not all of it?
Well, shingle clearance is a complex matter. Partly because the ownership of the seafront is a complex matter as well.
Right.
There are parts of the seafront we own. We have owned or the right to put concessions on, and therefore people expect us to clear those bits of the seafront, and that's why there's been here.
Okay.
It's not a comment about the whole 3 miles of the seafront.
Yeah, it's only just a set area that's quite hard. I just thought I'd just ask that question. Councillor Duval.
Please can I follow on from Councillor Williams' point? I don't think the concession policy paragraphs on the top of page 82 capture what Adam you said earlier, so that I think it should say something like this is the application process with concessions already agreed by the committee, and that any future concessions would need to go back to the committee, something around those lines.
Councillor Bristow.
Well, can I maybe suggest a quick and easy fix, calling it concessions awarding policy or award policy? Because it's all about the sort of the application process and what's considered and so on and so forth.
Councillor Lord, do you have a question?
No, thank you, Chair.
Oh, sorry.
Talk to himself.
Oh.
So that sounds like another amendment.
So this is a second one.
Right.
Sorry, Councillor.
So I know I've re-watched the Community Services Committee meetings today.
Yes.
So I know that this topic was discussed quite a bit at the committee, and so the head of Assets Projects and Services and our Assets Project Manager did deal with those sorts of questions around, is it a concession application policy, is it a concession awarding policy, and their response was that yes, part of the document is, but it's also much more than that. It's also about how we work with concessions in practice, you know, for the entirety of the agreement. So while a lot of it is setting the stages out when applying, it also applies through kind of the lifetime of that agreement that we have with them. So I think the feeling at committee was there was that reluctance to wrongly kind of portray it in that way.
Thank you. Right, now we have a proposal from Councillor Walraven, and that is about
recycling.
Yeah, the sustainable and recycling, and we're going to get where this is possible. And Councillor, are you putting a motion in as well?
Yes, please. I want to have the just a sentence in the top of page 82 saying that this applies to existing concessions and concession applications. New concession doesn't make sense, does it?
Just need to get the word in type.
If a concession hasn't already been agreed by community services, like the sauna, it has to go to community services. But where there is already a sauna and you're tendering for another sauna, then this policy applies.
I think it's not quite that situation, is it? This is a complex matter, so it's really good we're exploring it together while we are. I think that what the process expectation that we would have would be that if someone wants to create a new thing on the seafront in addition to the concessions that have been agreed, that has to go through community services.
Yes.
But that person may find themselves in a position of having to submit something that shows how they also adhere to this policy.
Yes.
So the absolute distinction you're making in your amendment isn't actually quite the case. Have I understood that correctly? It's nodding, so that's a yes. Okay.
I was looking at the policy, just wondering,
Yeah.
so the final sentence of the introduction is, please note that below covers all fixed and non-fixed assets. I wonder whether we just have a line there that confirms Community Services Committee controls the number and type of concessions, and whether that just captures what you're trying to highlight there.
Possibly, yes, I think that might work.
Right. Okay, so that sounds like our second amendment.
Right, is everyone happy with what, sorry, is everyone clear with how Georgia said that and everyone, yep, you all said. So Councillor Dubas, you're proposing, and then can we have a seconder, Councillor Rutland, and then all in favour?
Okay.
Thank you. Now, for Councillor Walraven's motion, we had a proposer and a seconder, Councillor Borman, and then all in favour for the bins, recycling? Yep, thank you.
That's everyone, Chair, thank you.
Right, so now, do we do number one, or we've done?
No, those were amendments to that,
Those amendments,
motion, so that's
fine.
passed.
That's fine, I always like to double check.
Always good to double check.
Yes, okay. Right, thank you very much. Right, agenda item number 15, to update full council on the status of the 2022 to 2023 annual governance and accountability return.
Do you want to say anything?
I don't think there's anything to say. I think the details in the report, this is a statutory requirement to go through to make sure the council are aware of the situation, that the external auditor has now passed the audit. I think this is explained well in the report. You have what's called an unqualified audit, which is what you are aiming for. A qualified audit where there's a qualification added and you've failed, in inverted commas. So where it says unqualified, that is what you want to have.
Perfect. Any questions? No? Okay, thank you. So we are asked to note the contents of the report. Can I have a proposal, please? Councillor Moore, second to Councillor Walraven, and then all in favour. Yeah, thank you.
Everyone, Chair, thank you.
Right, agenda item number 16. to present the interim internal audit report from Mulberry & Co Limited for 2023-2024.
So again, I'll speak to this very briefly. Because of my connection with Mulberry & Co, a different person from Mulberry & Co did the internal audit, and I played no part in that, so Lucy dealt with that on the day. Again, the audit report attached there has comments about what was found in the audit, and if you scroll to the end, again, the report would be, and here's a list of all the things you need to change, and that's the boxes that are blank, or says none, or whatever. So again, a good job been done by the staff who were dealing with the finances.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Anthony.
So, just to be pedantic, I have to find a question. Is that, and this one just clarification on page, I think it was page 103, that's page 3 of 10, about the transparency code. Sorry, it's a long day. I thought the transparency code applies to councils with turnover of over 200,000, and this one that applies to parish councils who are smaller. So I wasn't quite sure. I just wanted clarification on that.
So with my internal audit hat on, I can clarify that for you. So there are 2 local government transparency codes. There's one for smaller authorities, which are councils with a turnover under £25,000, which is a statutory requirement. Then there is one, the local government transparency code, which is for councils with a turnover over £200,000, which is recommended best practice, but not a statutory requirement. As yet, it may become one, but it isn't as yet.
Any further questions? Right, then we are asked to note the internal auditor's report. Can I have a proposal, please? Councillor Hurren, seconder, Councillor Sturton, and then all in favour. Thank you.
Everyone, Chair, thank you.
Right, this is on the agenda number 18, which is the exclusion of the press and the public. And the Chair will move in accordance with the Public Bodies Admission to Meetings Act 1960, press and public be excluded from the meeting during the discussion on the next items of business for the reasons I set out below. Can I have a proposal, please? And a second, Councillor Bristow, and a seconder, Councillor Wearmouth, and then all in favour. Thank you.